Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where integrity and experience matters. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon here in the Tennessee area. Not a great Sunday afternoon after the way that our boys played earlier, but we will be okay. We'll move on. We'll make it happen. But hopefully you're having a great Sunday afternoon, had a great weekend of football, and we'll go ahead and break that down here in just a moment. We are already 5 weeks into the season, and I know a lot of teams haven't played 5 games. You have a lot of teams that are 3-0 or 2-0, something like that. Have played 3 games, 2 games, somewhere in there. But for our season, we're 5 games in terms of how much football we cover. So just under halfway. It's kind of sad, but I love it. Football is here. Can't get enough of it. What's that old Tim McGraw? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to y'all. All right, let's start here in Tennessee. Had a game that a lot of people wouldn't have taken a second look at, and it wasn't high scoring. It wasn't a barn burner, but it was Sacred Heart of Jesus High School out of Jackson, playing their first game of the season. Had some roster issues and some game issues, officials, and finally able to get a game going. And they were taking on Franklin Classical. This is a cross-divisional game in the SEEC up in Franklin. And it was close. At the end of the first quarter, Sacred Heart was up 8-6. Classical scores a touchdown. Just let's see if my math's right. 24 seconds in to the second quarter, and they held that lead at halftime. 2 minutes left in the third. Sacred Heart put a touchdown on the board. Took a 14-12 lead, and then with 1:39 left in the third quarter, Franklin Classical put a touchdown on the board. So no 2-point convert. Well, no, I take that back. Let's see. Sacred Heart got 1 2-point conversion. Yeah, 1 2-point conversion. So they were one of 2, and then Classical was 0 of 3. But it was 18-14 Classical with 1.5 minutes left in the third quarter, and then carried that way all the way through the fourth quarter, and that was your final score. Franklin Classical 18, Sacred Heart 14. So what seems like it was a great game. It would have been great to be there and catch the game. I was at another game that I'll talk about here in a second, but big win for the Knights, too. Win number 2 in a row. They got the win over Innovation Academy a couple weeks ago, and so coming off the loss to Christian Community to start the season, it's good to kind of get some wins back under your belt, and as the long stretch of the season comes up. Tennessee Heat, they were down in Grundy County, Tennessee, playing an 11-man game, and they came up short, 37-8. Was the final score down there. The game I was at Friday night, Christian Community School hosting Zion Christian, a little TSIAA versus SEEC action. And for Christian Community, if you take that first quarter away, where they put up 4 touchdowns, 28 points, if you take that away, then it was a great game. It was a close game. Christian Community scored 22 in the second quarter. Nothing in the third and fourth, and then Zion scored 14 in the second quarter and a touchdown in the fourth. So you take those 28 points away in the first quarter, it's a great game. But Christian Community just showing why they are one of the top teams in the TSIAA, and jumping out to that quick and early lead, and then never looked back. Never a threat of loss for them. So they move to 3-1 on the season. Zion Christian moves to let me make sure I got this right. I believe they are 1-3. Yep. Max Preps has got them as 2-4, and it shouldn't be that way. 2-3. No, 2-4, or 1-4 rather, 1-4. Yeah, they beat Riverside, and then lost to Freedom, lost to South Haven, lost to Tri-Cities, and lost to Christian Community. So 1-4 is what their record should be on Max Preps. Max Preps, come on. And all you folks who've been keeping Max Preps updated, I got a chance to do The quick scoring on Friday night, it was a blast, super easy. So y'all give it a try. Y'all give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. Um, a little bit of TSIAA, TSIAA action. Had a couple games on Friday night. Franklin Christian traveled to Springfield to take on South Haven. Falcons come away with a 57-22 win. And then last night, first-year team Innovation Academy traveled to Lancaster Christian. I do not have a score for that game. Let me look at Max Preps and just see if one's been put on there. But, of course, there was a post that the Knights won and no score with the post. So let's see. Nope, still don't have a score. So if anybody knows the score, if you get it up on Max Preps or shoot it over, we'll get it put on there to help people like myself and Mr. Hank St. Dennis that, everyone wants to talk about, oh, well, all this record's wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. Well, keep Max Preps updated. There's some people that's what they go off of. That's what they have to go off of. So let's keep it updated. It's not that hard. Teams do it all the time. Parents keep it updated for teams all the time. Let's do better. Let's put a little effort forward. Let's jump down to Alabama. Carolina Wildcats. They were at Evangel Christian. They played them last year, and it didn't go well this year. Tough result for the Wildcats. Lightning, though, moved to 5-0 with a 72-8 win. Big win for Evangel. I believe they moved to 5-0. Southern Christian hosted Trinity Christian Homeschool Patriots with a 74-6 win. Lighthouse Warriors and Ezekiel Academy. This was a big game, of course. 2 Ezekiel players after the game against Freedom. 2 Ezekiel players. I don't know why I just spaced on their names. Brendan. Hang on. Brendan Davis and Emmanuel Grant were the offensive and defensive player of the game. And they showed up in that Freedom game, and so they both earned Player of the Week. So they come into this game with the Lighthouse Warriors and just, high-powered Warriors, talent all over the board. Elliot Knowles. Let's back up. Let's look at the box score. 14-8 at the end of the first quarter. Lighthouse had the lead, and then they led at the halftime 30-22. So still a closer game. And then they just pulled away. Touchdown in the third quarter, nothing for Ezekiel. And they outscored the Knights 30-6 in the fourth quarter. Elliot Knowles, 13 of 26, 228, 2 touchdowns, and he also threw an interception. Clay Boatman, 23 carries, 166 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also threw for a 36-yard touchdown. And then he also had 4 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. So making it happen all over the board. Matter of fact, 3 different receivers with catching touchdowns. You had Elliot Knowles rushing for 2 touchdowns. And then Clay Boatman, I mentioned the 4 rushing touchdowns. In terms of the defensive side of the ball, Cullen White and Clay Boatman tied for the lead, each with 11 tackles. Levi Aycock, Asher Bracker, and Clay Boatman all had a sack. And then Ben Hirsch, Asher Bracker, and Shelton Hill all had interceptions. So big game there for the Warriors. They moved to 5-0 as well. And this looming Lighthouse Evangel matchup is looking pretty big. It's looking pretty big. And I think it's coming up here in a couple weeks. Springwood School, they are another unbeaten team. They took on conference opponent Meadowview Christian and handled business down there. It was a home game, so they did not go down to Selma. But a bunch of guys contributing all over the board. Dylan Reeves had 2 rushing touchdowns. C.J. Johnson chipped another touchdown in. Luke Hudson, the senior quarterback, he had 2 touchdown passes. Let's see. In terms of defense, Parker Fuller led the team with 7 tackles. You also had Tucker Sides with 6 tackles. Parker Fuller had 2 sacks. And then Dylan Reeves had the pass defense. So a solid win. I don't think I mentioned the score. By the way, the score for the Lighthouse Ezekiel game, 68-28. and then the Springwood Meadowview 57-30. So big win there for the Wildcats. Riverside Christian got a chance to play football again. Hadn't played since the first game of the year against Zion Christian. They traveled down to Cornerstone, Columbiana, where the Chargers just absolutely handled business. 52-16, the score there. Chargers scored 24 in the first quarter, 22 in the second, and then just absolutely dominated the game from there. So, big win for Cornerstone. Their first 8-man game of the year. They've played a couple 11-man games, and so they're just kind of getting back in the swing of things. Southern Prep headed to Tuscaloosa to take on North River Christian, and the Fighting Rangers, I believe it might have been their first win of the season. Let's check that real quick. Yes, first win of the season. Fighting Rangers 36-14 win over the Chargers from North River Christian. Victory Christian hosted Success Unlimited on Thursday night, and it was the Eagles with a 52-6 win over the Mustangs. Cornerstone Rainsville 56, Tabernacle 28. Tabernacle Christian 0-2 to start the season, and Cornerstone Rainsville trying to rebound from what was a kind of a tough start, a tough couple weeks for them. Games against Freedom and Lighthouse Warriors. They led 14-6 after the first quarter. Tabernacle actually outscored them in the second quarter, and then it was all Eagles from there. 21-point third quarter, and then a tied fourth quarter gave them the 56-28 win. Alabama School for the Deaf, they hosted Oklahoma School for the Deaf, and the Bison came all the way from Sulphur, Oklahoma, just to go back home with a loss, and the Silent Warriors win 32-16, moves them to 1-1 on the year after the loss to Texas School for the Deaf. Jumping down to South Carolina, Augusta Eagles stay unbeaten with a win against New Hope Leadership Academy, and Eagles had a solid first quarter at the halftime. It was actually a 19-14 game, so really close. A field goal in the fourth quarter gave them that 8-point lead, and then from there they were able to just shut them down with defense. The young man's name, that one defensive player of the week, they haven't put their stats up yet, but it was Nathaniel Reese, I'm sure, was a big contributor there for the Eagles. Pack Panthers, big win over the Coastal Hurricanes, 60-0. Victory Christian hosted Harvest Christian, and the Hawks get the 46-12 win over Victory Christian. Do not have a score for Mount Olive Christian versus John Paul the Great Academy out of Louisiana. I do have a score for Southwest Louisiana, 38, North Shore Vultures 20. And then yesterday, the Cornerstone Spartans, 54, Southwest Christian 20. And that was a game I got a chance to broadcast from Little Rock last year. Crazy situation, but it all worked out, and Cornerstone Spartans get a little revenge, and they move to 2-1 on the season. Last game I'll talk about, Abundant Life Christian. They took on Arkansas Christian Academy, and they pulled away with a 54-0 win, and that leads me to bring in my guest. We'll get him on the phone here.
Hello.
Joining me now is the head coach of the Abundant Life Christian Academy Owls, Coach Charlie Rogers. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
We'll just start right in. Obviously, the way you guys' season has started off, you got a couple wins against some rivals. You got a big win, or all big conference wins. But in terms of keeping your guys level-headed, because you guys still have quite a bit of a season left, what's the biggest strategy for you and your staff to keep your guys kind of centered and know that, hey, this is not necessarily how the whole season's going to go?
Yeah, it's just 1 week at a time mentality. It's pretty old coaching cliche, if you will, but Yeah, it's just one week at a time, and the next opponent is the next opponent. I like to reference my alma mater at OU. It's try to be 1-0 every week. Don't get too far ahead and too focused in on the schedule. We know that those tough games are down the road with Destiny and crossover prep and even Southwest Christian that's coming up this week. We have them again later this year, but yeah, it's just a 1-0 type week mentality and yeah, that's really it. Other than that, our guys are pretty focused. We have for us being as young as we are, they're really playing very mature. They got a lot of experience last year under Coach Sundermeyer and got a lot of playing time as ninth graders and some 10th graders, and getting that experience really helped with their ability to just be a little bit more mature.
I'm glad you brought up Southwest because I wanted to ask about that. Obviously, a big rivalry game. Every time you guys play,
Hmm.
emotions are high, and the chance is always there. There's for mental errors, and so with your guys keeping them in line, and it's a crosstown rivalry. You guys are both there in Little Rock. Obviously, I'm sure there's some people that know other people, and so in terms of a rivalry game like that, what's one of the biggest things you try to communicate to your guys about a game like that?
Our biggest thing is responsibility. Whatever your responsibility is on the field, keep to your responsibility. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to be a Superman out there. Southwest has got a phenomenal quarterback,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
he's just outstanding. And he can make you look real silly real quick. And they're always well coached every year. The guys at Southwest, they know what they're doing, and each year they're going to compete and give you a lot of headaches, especially when we're dealing with number 4 over there on the other side. And
Oh yeah.
um, he's just a good player. And so again, just stressing to our guys, our ends, keep containment. Don't over pressure. If as soon as you do, he's just gonna pick you apart. So, just do your job, do what Coach Bill and myself are asking of you, and from there you should be fine. We'll be able to compete and hopefully pull out a win.
Yeah, Coach Ferguson's a great guy. I got a chance to interact with him last year and go down there to one of their games. I wanted to ask you, backing up just a little bit, Sunrise Christian last year in your
Hmm.
conference, and you guys, the way the conference is set up, you kind of stayed apart. Both of you, hands down, best teams in your conference. You meet in the championship, and it's very close, but it doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
Two questions off of that. The guys that played in that game that came back this year, how much motivation from that did you see in them over the off season, the workouts, the practices, but then also with them leaving the conference, does that open a door a little bit for you guys to say, hey, you know what, we can shoot our shot right now and really just take control of this?
Yeah, I mean, Sunrise. That was such a good game. Oh my goodness. This
I hate that I missed it. I
it
really
was
do.
a flash snowstorm in the first half, and when I mean flash snowstorm, I mean a snowstorm. The visibility was not even to the other sideline. You couldn't see the other sideline from where we were,
Oh
and
wow.
so both teams had to readjust their game plans. And we went from both teams went from a high flying offenses to, hey, we're running between the tight end and the guard, and we're doing 4 yards in a cloud of snow really.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we got down pretty quick, but came back hard in the second half, and it really came down to a last play for All Staters, Bennett McCoy and Caleb Wiley, and the ball sailed on him in the end zone as time expired, just by a foot, and
Mm-mm.
it could have went either way. It was a phenomenal game, and Sunrise was just a great team. But for the off season, the key word was satisfied, question mark, because we'd never had really that level of success
Yeah, absolutely.
heading out, or heading into a new season. And I didn't want guys to be just complacent. I don't want them to be satisfied with it. And man, so that was the question during summer. When we're doing our workouts, are you satisfied with this? Are you happy with these trophies? And all of our sports did well in basketball and baseball, and we came up short almost in every sport, just in second or third place. And um, yeah, so satisfied was the key word there. And with with Sunrise moving on, yeah, I think it really at that point really opens up the conference for Destiny, and who's always great every
Right,
year. That
right.
they don't
And I
they
didn't
don't
mean to
rebuild.
overlook them.
Yeah, well, they don't rebuild; they reload,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're always ready to go. And yeah, I think it also leaves another opportunity for us in Southwest Christian and um, yeah, team, and maybe even crossover prep up in Tulsa that otherwise probably wouldn't have a chance to compete with a bigger enrollment school like Sunrise.
Yeah. Man, you mentioned some of the guys like Caleb, and I want to give you a chance to give some of your guys some shout outs, I guess, as the kids would say, because you've got some leaders on your team. There's no doubt, and just hearing you talk about them, obviously you recognize the hard work they've put into it. So, want to give you a chance to shout out some of your guys and some of those leaders on your team.
Yeah, it's, Caleb Wiley. Start off with him. Just what an outstanding player on both sides of the ball. On defense, he's just a menace. He will be all over the field, and on offense, he's switching up and moving to quarterback this year. And he's he's done exactly like we thought he would do. Is just being outstanding and on every facet of the game. He understands the playbook sometimes better than we do, and catches things and gives us insight on how to improve a play or improve our offense. And he's a future coach
Is 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 he
slash in the making.
is he a guy that you feel comfortable if he's out there on the field and he sees something, maybe tweaking something in terms of the play?
Absolutely, yeah. If he's telling
Nice.
us what's going on, you don't question him. You might ask him like, okay, well, we're going to do it this way instead. I mean, he's almost like having another coach on the field. It is. That's really what it is. He's another coach on the field that recognizes the things that some of the younger kids don't recognize. But he's just a phenomenal kid, and on top of that, just a great Christian young man that tries to incorporate the young guys from going to church and getting them involved in our spirit squad and stuff. So he is all in on Abundant Life for sure. You have JT Townsend, who was also All Stater last year, our kicker, and um, I don't think kickers really get a whole lot of love in the 8-man game just because it's not really a crucial part of 8-man football like it is in 11-man football.
Shoot.
But I'm telling you, this kid, he if he wants to play at the next level, kicking field goals, he has a great opportunity to do so. And
Well, and not just
not
that,
to mention,
and
oh,
not
go
ju-
ahead.
and not just that. It's a huge game changer when you can plan on kicking a ball back to your opponent's 10 as opposed to, okay, we're going to have to
Yeah,
squib kick this every kickoff. How can we cover this the best we can?
yeah.
That's a huge game changer.
More than half of our kickoffs have been touchbacks, and
Wow.
I'm saying to the true sense of a touchback into the end zone. So I mean, he's got a really great leg, and yeah, that's from his soccer background growing up, and he's been able to translate that into just a great football place kicking and kickoff role. We haven't had to punt very much this year, so I look forward to him punting. Hopefully not too much, but I don't want to see it too much. But
it's
I'm
it's
sure that he'll kill it once he gets that opportunity.
you've got mixed emotions about that, kind of like watching your mother-in-law drive off a cliff in a Cadillac. You want to see him punt, you want to see him punt really well, but you're like, I don't want to punt
Uh,
at the
I
same
know, I
time.
know. It's a dubious honor to be awarded best punter in the league.
Right,
If
right.
you ever get that award, yeah, you don't really want that award, but uh, he's a phenomenal kid, and he's a sophomore this year, so he's got a couple years to go, and he's only going to get bigger, faster, and stronger. And a couple other guys just to mention.
Yeah, yeah,
Nate
for sure.
Benton, he's transitioning from the offensive line to a running back slash fullback position this year, and he's been able to create a little chaos back there. I'd like to see what he's going to bring us for the next year. Logan Clay, also another great receiver slash corner that is a game breaker. You blink and he's 10 yards behind you, and both him and Caleb run 4.6 40s, and I'm pretty sure Caleb will push him and tell you he runs a 4.5. I gotta see it to believe it, but I've seen the 4.6. I need to see the 4.5.
Right,
Braden
right.
Clements can run, and yeah, I think the thing that defines us is our speed, and we want to run people off the field if we can. That's kind of our mentality. Our conditioning is great. That's where my background really comes into play, and I love being able to make the guys bigger, faster, and stronger. And you have to be competing with Destiny and Sunrise, and
Oh yeah.
crossover. These guys are really talented kids that their schools have invested in their weight program and their off season program. And if you don't really take that to heart at this level, you're going to be you're going to be on the wrong side of it almost every time. And it's just you can't afford to not really invest in the strength and conditioning part of the program.
For sure, yeah, and having a coach that I think having a coach that has that background and that knowledge of, just saying, hey, we have to start somewhere, and this is where we can start. Maybe that'll give a little bit of encouragement to some schools that the coach might say it, and he's standing over on the side, and he's to quote the recent song, he's 5'3", 300 pounds, eating some fudge rounds. It
Yeah.
doesn't really hit the same coming from him as opposed
Well,
to someone that has
yeah.
a background in that.
Well, I'll tell you, and that's where I think I've really gained a lot of street cred with the kids.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, yeah.
that I've told them whatever I ask them to do, I'm willing to do it. And I'd say
Nice,
for a good
nice.
majority of the workouts, I'm right there with them, and I'm pushing right there with them. And I have a couple that are trying to outbench me right now, but well, I don't want to say any names, but because I don't want him to get them upset. But I still got him right now, even at 42 years old. But I
Oh
have a
man.
couple guys that are really trying to get stronger in the weight room. Our biggest challenge, and I'm sure a lot of coaches find this, but ninth graders, 10th graders, man, they do not eat. They don't eat enough.
No,
And
no.
just getting them to, learn that calories are so important.
Yeah.
Yes, chicken's good, steak's good. We want all that. We want the rice. We want to eat clean where we can. But these guys, I mean, not just these guys, but all ninth graders, 10th graders, 11th graders. I don't see it so much out of my seniors, but they just don't eat enough and they have to eat some more.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You talk about the conference and a lot of teams like to complain if they have to travel an hour or 2 hours. It's oh man, it's such a long ways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody has any room to talk when your conference has teams in. Let me make sure I get this right:
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Mississippi, and I think
Missouri.
Missouri. Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
have the team in Missouri. Uh,
Yeah.
your travel is incredible, and obviously they keep you guys somewhat separated, and then you come together there at the end of the year. But you guys are going to Oklahoma this year. You've
Mm-hmm.
got teams coming to you from Oklahoma. That's a crazy travel schedule. When you have a road game like that, and when you're getting your guys ready for a trip like that, what's kind of the game plan in terms of keeping them loose or getting up there with a little bit of time to spare?
Yeah, it's just there it is. It's getting there early. If you try to, Oklahoma or Del City for Destiny is 5 hours away on the dot. So
Wow.
if we left at noon and we get there at 5, those guys are going to be just absolutely exhausted. So trying to make plans to get there plenty of time, treat it just like an absolute business trip, getting there, going over film, going over having a light practice, going treating it like we do in college football, and having dedicated meetings to what we're trying to accomplish on the field is key. I know in the past, I think in 2020 we went to Destiny, and we made it a there, play the game, come back, and our guys were just absolutely trashed. You just can't do it. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
you have to make a little time, and that's where getting approval from your head of schools and speaking to your administration, telling them what's on the agenda, getting permission from the teachers, getting schoolwork done in uh, a good enough amount of time where it doesn't become a nuisance or doesn't become frowned upon by the school. We do have a great teaching staff and administration that supports that, and I'm sure the other coaches can attest. So that's really what you have to do. You can't walk around and just do what you want. You have to play nice with everybody and give them that respect because they're student athletes, they're students first. So we have to take care of that piece. But yeah, just getting there early, making sure we're giving them plenty of time to rest and recuperate from a long drive is key.
Well, and especially a small school like that, everybody's family. Everybody's got to work together. You can't just come in and act like the big head honcho.
No,
Um,
you can't. You'll make some enemies pretty quick doing
oh,
that.
absolutely. Speaking
Mhm.
of being a smaller school, you guys though get to play at a really nice field, really nice stadium there in Jacksonville.
Yes.
And I don't think, funny enough, I don't think people realize there's a Jacksonville, Arkansas, but there is.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
you guys get to play at a really nice field, a really nice environment. How much of an advantage do you think that is for your guys to be able to go into an environment like that? Because I've been at some fields and some games where just the atmosphere. If I'm a player walking into it, I almost have a I don't have the same mindset as when I walk into a field like what you guys have.
Yeah, Jacksonville. So it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful facility, and Jacksonville High School. We have friends there. I've made friends with the coaches and the athletic director as well as the superintendent. And one of the superintendent's kids go to Abundant Life. That kind of gave us that contact. And once I established contact with them, man, they've just been so awesome. And on top of that, they're phenomenal. Like, as you mentioned, their facilities. It's like playing at a small college or
Yeah,
even a big college to some degree. And when the kids walk out, especially on the other team, they're not used to playing on fields like that, so it can be a little bit not overwhelming, but they're just like, oh my gosh, look at this field, look at this turf, look at the
you're not able
stands
to
and the people that are backing it up.
you're not maybe you're not able to focus as much.
Yeah, and I think that's to our benefit. Our guys at this point of this, this is our second full year there, and I mean that's home. And when we hit the field, we know the process, and it's great because you play as you well seen. You've seen some fields where it don't they don't have that modern updated field, and when you go out there and you experience it, it can be distracting for sure. And yeah, it's a wonderful place, and Jacksonville is a great facilitator, and we're so thankful for them.
Last question, I'll let you go. If you
Yes,
look
sir.
inside your conference and then you look outside your conference, you're putting a schedule together, or maybe you're looking at
Hmm.
something postseason. Is there somebody you want to play that you want to take another crack at? Maybe somebody that y'all have never played, but you look at them and go, man, our styles seem similar. Seems like it'd be fun to play them.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a great question. No doubt, I would not hesitate playing Sunrise again, just with what happened last year,
Oh
and
yeah, oh yeah.
they won, and they got us, and um, yeah, I would love that to see that kind of matchup again. I'll tell you, man, Arkansas's got some wonderful teams, Mountain Pine, Izard County, and um,
Well, and that's the
they're
other thing too is y'all have a whole new set of opponents potentially
oh
with the
sure,
public schools adding it, and I think
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I got a couple calls from Marshall and oh gosh, Augusta, and we were about to pull the trigger. And I mean, I was ready to sign the contract to play them for a 2 year stretch, and we had another conference opponent that called. Um, is actually crossover, and they filled that slot, and I wanted to remain faithful to the HCAA at that point. But yeah, I think being able to play a Marshall or Augusta, Episcopal moved up to 11 man. I would love to have played them while they were 8 man. Um, but yeah, I think a couple of those. I don't know if we're ready to bite off Mountain Pine. I mean, those guys, golly, those guys can play. Cutter Morningstar. I know that they're trending upwards this year, and um, yeah, I think a couple of those schools might be on our schedule in the next couple of years for sure. Even as a non-conference opponent, it'd be a wonderful a wonderful opportunity to get to play them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm trying to see if with Sunrise. Let's see, when is their championship? Let's see, KC East and Manhattan Eagles. When did they play their championship? They last year they played it, if I'm not mistaken. Um, well, I'm not even. Let's see. Let's back up to 2022. I'm wondering if it's a possibility for after you two, because obviously the way your schedules work out, you won't have a chance to go to Florida for nationals, because I think your championships in Florida are the same weekend.
Yeah.
But you could try to work it out. Um, I think their championships the week before y'all's. So if anything, it's a selling point of hey, you have an extra week of practice.
Oh, man, you would have to get my assistant coach and to get his permission on that. Coach Wiley, he would probably not approve right now.
I got
but
you.
I'm always more the optimistic one when it comes to playing. I'm ready to strap it up anytime, anywhere, and he has to bring me back down to earth a few times whenever I get too antsy or excited about an opponent. But yeah, man, that would be phenomenal.
Well, fair enough. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join me, and looking forward to seeing what you guys do this year, doing well in the HCAA. And you folks check them out. They're on social media, Abundant Life Christian. I think it's ALCA Owls on
It's
social media.
ALCA. It's ALCA-OWLS.com, and we're also on Instagram and Facebook. Feel free to follow us, and yeah, we appreciate the love. Thank you so much for the invite, and I'd love to come back anytime.
There you go, Coach Charlie Rogers. I appreciate you, Coach.
Hey, thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye bye.
That's Coach Rogers from Abundant Life Christian over there in Arkansas, and of course, Arkansas with a group that is now covering 8-man football. I mentioned they have the public schools that are now playing 8-man in the AAA, the Arkansas Activities Association, and I think they have 2 different divisions there, and so a bunch of potential opponents outside of just homeschool and Christian school teams. So a lot of potential opponents there could be interesting. And it's a situation of they do have a lot of travel. So whenever teams talk about it's too far, I don't want to hear it. You're crazy. You're crazy to me. All right, let's break down what we've got coming up. I see what I did there. Let's break down what we got coming up this upcoming week. Let's start in the AISA. On Friday night, Southern Prep, they are at Stewart County High School in Georgia. Stewart County, one of the public schools in Georgia that has started playing 8-man. They've been doing it for a couple years now. Lighthouse Homeschool, they are on the road at North River Christian, and the Chargers there in Tuscaloosa. Lighthouse on a roll, so this one should be interesting. Cornerstone Christian Columbiana, they are at Springwood, and this is a big rivalry game. It was a big one last year. Cornerstone coming in with no conference games played yet, a couple 11-man, and then one against Riverside. Springwood, meanwhile, 4-0, and I believe they're 2-0 in conference play. Let me verify that. They are 3-0 in conference play, so Wildcats on a roll. And then Meadowview Christian, they are at Evangel Christian, 2 teams that are struggling, and and they're pretty close for the 2 of them. So I believe that's every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one conference team not playing, and it is, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Let's see. Evangel, Meadowwood, Springwood, Cornerstone. No, everyone is. Yeah. North River, Southern Prep, Cornerstone, Springwood, Meadowview, Evangel. Okay, so all the AISA teams are playing on Friday night. Let's look at the CFA, the Christian Football Association, also known as the ACAA. Thursday night, couple games happening. Russell Christian, they are at Tuscaloosa Christian, and a big rivalry game there. Only about an hour separates the 2 of them. 2 teams that have had their own struggles at times, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then Cornerstone Christian Rainsville coming off that win against Trinity Christian Homeschool. Let me see. No, Tabernacle. I don't know why I forgot that. So Cornerstone Christian Rainsville taking on Success Unlimited. They are at Success Unlimited. Those games on Thursday night. On Friday night, Victory Christian is at Jacksonville Christian, who's coming off a bye week. And then Ezekiel Academy coming off the loss to Lighthouse. They are at Tabernacle Christian, who's coming off the loss to Cornerstone Rainsville. So both teams trying to rebound from results that maybe they didn't want this past Friday night. Let's take a look at the ACSC, Alabama Christian School Conference. On Friday night, I mentioned Lighthouse Warriors at North River Christian, mentioned Ezekiel Academy at Tabernacle, and then it's a big game. It's a big rivalry game. It's maybe not as big as the last couple years. I mean, this was like the marquee, one of the marquee matchups, interconference or, conference versus independent. Evangel Christian at the Freedom Cowboys up in Huntsville. And this is going to be a big game between the Lightning and the Cowboys, big rivalry game. These two have played for the last two national championships. At one point, Freedom had only lost 4 games in 2 years before this season, and all 4 losses were to Evangels, so this is a big one. And then the last game on Friday night, East Central, the Patriots. They are at the other Patriots, Southern Christian, so a big rivalry game there in the ACSC. Let's skip over to the TSI AA here in Tennessee, and on Thursday, you've got a game. South Haven, they are on the road at Riverside Christian, and the Patriots coming. All right, and we're back. Sorry about that. A little bit of internet issues. There we go. All right, I think we're back there. What I was saying is the Kings Academy coming out of the TSSAA 11-man team, and they are 0-4, so it might be a good opportunity, good timing for Grace Academy, who won an 11-man game earlier this year against Lookout Valley High School, to come in, maybe kind of test themselves with 11-man. They've been down at 8-man since 2020, I believe, is the season that they made the move. So, been 3 years since they made the move, and I think it's been very, very successful for them. The last game on Friday night, Christian Community, they are on the road at Lancaster Christian down in Smyrna. Lancaster sitting at 0-3 on the season and struggling a little bit. Losses to Tennessee Heat, South Haven, and Franklin Christian. And I say they're 0-3. I don't know the results of the game against Innovation Academy, so that would affect that ranking, obviously. But, yeah, so those are the games happening in the TSIAA on Friday. Let's jump to the SEEC, Southeastern Extreme Conference. I mentioned the Freedom Cowboys hosting Evangel Christian. That's a big game between the two conferences. If you'll remember earlier in the season, you had Tennessee Heat, Lighthouse Warriors. That was a great ball game down in Alabama. So a little matchup there. And then Tennessee Heat, they are on the road in Jackson, taking on Sacred Heart, and that game is on Saturday. Has been moved to Saturday. So game between the Heat and the Knights. And then on Friday, Franklin Classical, they are at Zion Christian. And a little interconference game there between the two of them. Always a nice little rivalry between the Knights and the Eagles. Let's jump over to South Carolina. Let's talk about the SIFA. A couple of games coming up. The Augusta Eagles on the road at Harvest Christian. And Eagles coming in at 4-0. Harvest Christian coming off the win against Victory Christian. Speaking of Victory Christian, they are hosting the Coastal Hurricanes, who are coming off the loss to the Pack Panthers. Victory Christian coming off that loss to Harvest. So two teams looking to rebound a little bit. And then a big one, Providence Athletic Club, the Pack Panthers. They are at Tri-Cities Christian up in Bluntville. I forgot to mention them when I was talking about the SEEC teams. But Pack Panthers, Tri-Cities Christian, this is a big one. Tri-Cities Christian already playing Orangeburg Christian down in South Carolina. They got the win there. So big matchup between the SEEC and the SIFA. Let's go over to Louisiana. Let's talk about the games down there. Acadiana Christian on Thursday night. They are at First Baptist Christian. First Baptist Christian coming in at 0-4. And the Acadiana Christian Lions at 3-1. On Friday night, you've got the North Shore Vultures. They are at John Paul the Great Academy, who currently is 4-0. Don't have a score for their game this past weekend, so they could be 5-0. Just not 100% sure. And I think these teams, if I'm not mistaken, have played already, and they did. And John Paul the Great won that game 48-0. And then let me see if Acadiana and First Baptist have already played. They have not. So first meeting of the season between these two teams. Let's go over to the Heartland Christian Conference. Let's go down to Arkansas, where we just talked to the head coach of the Abundant Life Christian Owls, Coach Charlie Rogers. They have a big one coming up on Friday night At 5 p.m., they are at Southwest Christian. Their field does not have lights, so they got to start the game just a little bit earlier. But these are two Little Rock, Arkansas teams. One is in North Little Rock, and then one is in regular Little Rock across the river. So a big conference matchup between these two, and it should be a fun one. And then Destiny Christian, they are at Life Prep. Crossover Prep at Life Christian. Arkansas Christian at Unity Christian. Claremore Christian at Cross Christian. And then Trinity Christian, I mentioned they are not at Crossover Prep. Let's see. Yeah, so that's not happening. But on Saturday, it's the Battle of Cornerstones. The Cornerstone Family Saints taking on the Cornerstone Spartans. Saints come in at 0-3, and they'll head to Joplin to take on the Spartans, who are a surprising, at least to me, a surprising 2-1. But it's a very nice surprise. I do like that they're able to. They've had a great start to the season. Love to see it. Love to see it. Let's see. I think that is all. Let me see. Well, let's run through North Carolina real quick, just to kind of see. I forgot to mention them at the beginning of the show, and some of their guys, some of the games that happened this past weekend. We'll talk, and we'll look at some of the games this upcoming weekend. Rocky Mount Academy, they are 2-2, and they took down Father Capodanno 70-0. Halifax Academy win over Howard 63-22. Arendelle Parrott over Liberty Christian 75-12. Wayne Christian over Berean Baptist 64-8. Lawrence Academy, they took on Greenbrier Christian from Virginia. And that game, well, it wasn't a forfeit. Yeah, it wasn't a forfeit. It was 45-2 was your final score. There's no box score, so I don't know what happened, but that is the most curious score I've ever seen. Faith Christian, they got a big win over Cary Christian 45-8. Faith now sits at 2-1. Cary Christian at 2-2. I mentioned Rocky Mount Academy earlier. Them and Faith Christian both there in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And that big rivalry game will take place third week of October the 20th. Big rivalry game there. John Paul II Catholic went over Grace Christian 40-8. St. David's went over Sandhills Classical Christian 38-0. And then Community Christian out of Wilson, North Carolina went over Pungo Christian 22-14. And then coming up there in the NCISAA coming up on Friday night, Columbia at Pungo Christian, John Paul II at Wake Christian. I believe that's an 11-man game. Liberty Christian at Berean Baptist, Hobgood Charter at Lawrence Academy, Community Christian at Northeast Academy, Arendelle Parrott at Rocky Mount, Father Capodanno at St. David's, and then Wayne Christian at Cary Christian. Big rivalry game there between the Eagles and the Knights. Yeah, that's going to be a big one there in North Carolina. I'll definitely keep an eye on that one. Also got a game on Saturday, Howard and Lee Christian. Let me run through real quick, and let's see. Let's take a look at Georgia real quick. Let's see. A lot of 8-man in Georgia. Let's look at the GIAA first. This is Region 1. Westminster Schools of Augusta, they are 3-0 with a 31-0 win over John Hancock Academy. Holy Spirit Prep is 3-1 after a 49-14 win over Crisp Academy. Johnson Ferry Christian 40, Dominion Christian 24. And Young Americans Christian, they are 4-0 on the season with a win over Westminster Christian 60-29. So big wins down there in Georgia. Let me see if I can find one more set of scores. Let's see. Let's look at Region 2 for Georgia. Windsor Academy 54, Covenant Academy nothing, and then Dane David Emmanuel Academy 38, Westwood 8. Let's see. I think Gaps is the only one I haven't looked at. We'll look it up by the just let's see. Let's see how we're looking. Let's see, there's Gaps. Praise Academy over New Creation Christian 54-12. Lafayette Christian 58. Holy Ground Baptist 14. Crosspoint Christian 40. Victory Baptist 20. Peachtree Academy 30. And Community Christian nothing. And I think there's some unbeaten teams there. Praise Academy 3-0. Lafayette is 3-0. So those teams are doing pretty well. Let me see if I can look up one more section for Gaps, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see. Division 2 for 8-man and Gaps. There we are. Horizon Christian over Monsignor Donovan Catholic 59-8. Central Christian over Hearts Academy 40-0. Fidelis Christian 38. Covington Academy 6. And Sherwood Christian 45. Community Christian nothing. So, a couple scores there from Georgia. Let me double check to see how those teams are doing real quick. There's a game on Thursday, but it doesn't say. I mentioned Young Americans Christian is 4-0. Sherwood Christian's 4-0. And then Lafayette Christian is 3-0. So, that'll just about do it for the show today. I want to give a big thank you to Coach Charlie Rogers for jumping on with me. Had a lot of fun with conversation with him. And I want to give a big thank you to Complete Real Estate for being the sponsor of Extreme Talk, where experience and integrity matters. We'll see y'all next week for another edition of Extreme Talk. Go catch a game this Friday or Saturday or Thursday. Your choice. See ya!